So, welcome to all the BSc first year students, semester second. We are discussing about pteridophytes. In the last class, we have seen that is xylotum, its classification, external characteristics, internal characteristics, or external morphology, then internal structure of xylotum, then what are the synergium, how the multiplication or reproduction take place. All these things we have discussed in the last class. There are already we have discussed that in Pteridophyta, whatever syllabus they have been mentioned about 5 examples. For all these 5 examples, they have to be study their life cycles. While studying during the life cycle, first of all, you have to give the systematic position and classification of. For example, while studying the life cycle of xylotum, we have discussed classification, then occurrence, then morphological characteristics, then anatomical characteristics, and reproduction or multiplication of that particular example. So while studying all these things, then there will be a completion of life cycle of that particular example. So likewise, today we are going to be dealing about another important example, that is which belongs to the Pteridophyta, that is Lycopodium. Lycopodium. So it is one of the most advanced example which belongs to the Pteridophyta. Before going to the study the different aspects, first of all you have to give the classification of Lycopodium. It comes under division Pteridophyta, class Lycopodium, then order Lycopodiales, family Lycopodiaceae, genus Lycopodium. There are different species of Lycopodium. So near about whether it is before going to be study the what are the different species. Well, considering the important characteristics of Lycopodium, it is one of the most important genus, cosmopolitan in their distribution. Throughout in world, there are about 400 species have been recognized. And in India, there are about 33 species have been recognized. And most of the species of Lycopodium are preferred to grow in a tropical or temperate zone. Tropical or temperate zone. In India, there are about certain tropical regions. They prefer to grow in a moist and shady places where there is a locality where there is having a rich amount of organic contents. For example, when you go through to the Mahabaleshwar Ratnagiri area, the Lycopodium grows just like a grass. In most of the species of Lycopodium are epiphytic, which are growing on a trunk of trees. So in Mahabaleshwar, the big trees on the trunks, there will be a mat of some species of Lycopodium. So this is about number of species of Lycopodium. After that, you have to go through to the plant body or morphology, external characteristics and internal characteristics. Already while discussing that pteridophytic plants, already I have told that it is the first vascular plants. These are the first vascular plants. In case of Pteridophyta, the sporophytic phase is longer than the gametophytic phase. Whatever the plants we are going to be discuss, that is root, stem and leaf like structures, root, stem and leaf, internal characteristics, that is the sporophytic phase, which is longer one, which will be differentiated into root, stem and leaf like structures. root, stem and leaf. So the gametophytic phase is very shorter one with a simple structures which bears antheridium and male reproductive body and female reproductive body, male and female reproductive body. So that is the main difference between. So while discussing the life cycle, while discussing the alternation of generation of, in case of pteridophytic plants, you have to mention these important points, that is the sporophytic phase and gametophytic phase. So there are many species that have their different morphological and anatomical characteristics. For example, while studying the morphology or external characteristics of Lycopodium. While explaining the external characteristics or plant body or the sporophytic plant body of Lycopodium, first of all you have to draw the figure. You have to draw the figure. So these are the roots. This is the stem, and these are the leaves, and this is the cone or stobulus. While explaining the external characteristics of a plant body of Lycopodium, you have to be described three important parts, that is stem, root and leaves. The plant, there are certain species of Lycopodium are there whose plant body is distinctly differentiated into prostrate parts and erect parts. The prostrate parts means a stem which is growing along the surface of the soil or ground, that is known as prostrate parts, and the part of the plant body which grows in upward directions are the branches, dichotomously branched. The stem is dichotomously branched, prostrate and erect branches. These erect branches and prostrate branches are covered with a small, simple, scaly-like leaves which are spirally arranged. There are again here the arrangement of leaves, the structure of leaves differ in different species. There are certain species are there which are pendant in nature. They are epiphytic one, which are growing on other plants, pendant in nature. So while studying the stem, just you have to point out which is the prostrate part and which is the erect parts. From that dichotomous branching from the stem arises a certain colorless structure which grows on downward direction or which enters into the soil. They are nothing but roots. The roots are adventitious in type. On that, the main function of the root is to absorb the water and minerals, to hold the plants in the substratum. And while studying the leaves, already I have mentioned the different species of Lycopodium have different types of leaves in their structure and their arrangements. So generally they are very simple leaves with a single midrib, scaly line, smaller one, spirally arranged, and they are known as microsporophylous. isophilous. Isophilous means all the leaves are similar in their structures, therefore they are known as isophilous. So there are certain leaves at the terminal end of the branches having a sporangia, therefore they are known as sporophilous. The leaves which are having the sporangia on them, they are known as sporophylls, and these sporophylls are aggregated or arranged in a specific structure. They are known as strobilus. They are known as strobilus or cone of Lycopodium. So while explaining the root, stem and leaf, just you have to remember certain important points, that is stem, whether it is a dichotomous or monopodial, prostrate or erect, what type of roots, then what type of leaves, what are the sporophylls and their arrangements and their aggregation. So this is about external characteristics of Lycopodium. After explaining the external characteristics of Lycopodium, now you have to point out the internal characteristics. Internally, how the tissues are arranged in stem, roots and leaves. So for that you have to take the transverse section of the stem, root and leaves. So here you have to remember the important characteristics of what type of stele is there in case of Lycopodium. So there is a stellar evolution were observed only in pteridophytic plants. Stellar means how there will be a complex structure will be found in stele. While studying the stellar evolution, you will find a slight complex nature will be found in advanced plants. For example, from pteridophytes, then gymnosperm, then angiosperms. So there is a stellar evolution. So when studying the stellar evolution, what type of stele is there? Stele means, what is meant by stele? The stele is nothing but the arrangement of vascular bundles. The arrangement of vascular bundles in a stem or roots, stem and leaf is known as stele. Stele is nothing but the arrangement of vascular bundles, that is known as stele. So what type of stele is there? Whether it is a protostele, whether it is a syphnostele, whether it is a actinostele. What is meant by protostele? What is meant by actinostele? What is meant by syphnostele? You have to remember. So while taking the transverse section of the stem, leaves and roots, will be find a specific type of stellar structure, specific type of stele in that particular. For example, in case of Lycopodium also, different species have different types of steles. There are certain species are there having protostele. There are certain species are there having actinostele. There are certain species are there having syphnostele. So if protostele means the xylem is completely surrounded by phloem, then it is known as protostele. Again, the alternative patches or the rays or the branches of protostele of xylem elements, if they are covered with phloem, then it is known as actinostele. Then syphnostele means there is alternative patches of xylem and phloem, then it is known as syphnostele. Then mixed, there is another type of stele, that is mixed stele. So these are the different types. There are some of the important steles present in the different species and different examples of pteridophytic plants. So while explaining the internal characteristics of Lycopodium, just you have to take the transverse section, that is epidermis, then cortex, then endodermis, then stele. So what type of stele is that? You have to remember why it is called the protostele. Without pith, xylem is located at the center of the stem, therefore it is known as protostele. There is no pith here, therefore it is known as protostele. So epidermis, cortex, endodermis and stele. What type of stele is there in case of stem, root and leaf, you have to be mentioned. That is the important points while explaining the internal characteristics of Lycopodium. So here you have to remember while explaining the external characteristics, root, stem and leaf, then strobilus, then internal structure of stem, leaves and roots. You have to remember all these things, and after that you have to go through to the reproduction or multiplication in case of Lycopodium. So already we have explained that the strobilus or core is nothing but having a sporophylls aggregated in specific structures. The sporophylls are having a sporangium. In that sporangium, the structure of sporangium, in that sporangium there is a presence of spores which are haploid. When these spores again fall on a suitable substratum, they germinates and gives rise to a flat body, which is nothing but gametophytic plants. So that gametophytic plant is a independent one, and that gametophytic flat body, a heart-like structure, so that produces Anthridium archegonium. Then male and female gametes fuse to each other. Then the process is known as fertilization. From that zygote, again there is a development of a sporophytic plant, which is differentiated into root, stem and leaf-like structures. So likewise there is a continuation of life cycle of that particular example, that is Lycopodium, Selaginella, then Equisetum and Marsilia, likewise. So today we have discussed regarding the external characteristics, internal characteristics. Tomorrow we are going to be discuss about the structure of strobilus or cone of Lycopodium, then the germination, then the structure of gametophytic plants of Lycopodium, then the structure of Anthridium and archegonium, then anthrozoids and egg, then fertilization, then zygote. Likewise, you have to cover all these things. After covering all these things, then there will be completion of life cycle of Lycopodium. After that, we are going to be dealing about, that is Selaginella. What is the Selaginella? Here also you have to be discussed regarding the classification, occurrence, external characteristics, internal characteristics, then strobilus, all these things. Okay, thank you one and all.